Okay, great. Warm Pacific greetings to all our valued participants, and welcome to another edition of our monthly webinar series. This morning, we are thrilled to have Sharron Beck from the South Pacific SN Network. Sharron is the founding member and the board secretary of SPSN and a yacht marina manager based in New Zealand. She will provide us with an update on the yachting industry and some activities that SPSN members are engaged in. We are also excited to report that SPTO and SPSN have an MOU in place. It's an amazing partnership, I must say, and we look forward to developing the yachting industry even further. Before I invite Sharron to present just a few housekeeping rules, if I may. So by default, everyone will be on mute. And if you'd like to ask a question, you may use the chat feature, or you can ask your question after the presentation, because in every webinar, we have a Q&A session after each presentation. So that will be your opportunity to ask any question, or if you have any comments or anything, if you'd like to discuss that with Sharron, please feel free to do that. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure in inviting Sharron Beck to present the topic. Sharron, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sahi. Let's get started. Yeah, are you with me there? Kia ora from New Zealand. We're not a member of the SPTO down here in New Zealand, but we're very supportive and we're quite reliant on the South Pacific Islands in regards to tourism as well, because we're all in the same area. And once we've got people, either if they've flown here or if they've sailed all the way here, once they're in the area, we try to keep them here by showing all the attractions that we have in the greater region. Myself, I am officially assistant marina manager in the Whangarei Marina, but I do tend to tell my boss what to do, so we sort of see ourselves as working as partners. The marina I work at is focused, directed towards offshore boats. We do this because we see how much income comes from the vessels to our city and the services that get provided to them. And also we love the character that it brings to the heart of our little city. I personally, I work in this industry because I love sailing. I get lots of opportunity to normally head off around the world and sail with some of our customers. I love the sailing, I love the people, the characters that you meet and the adventures that are involved in sailing. We believe here so much in this sailing, or what we call the blue water economy, and how it can assist the destinations that you come to, that we're looking to build another marina here in town. It's about 2 years away. But we're also focusing that on having it as a marina that welcomes in offshore boats. So I'd really like to initially just thank SPTO for this opportunity, because we thought a lot of people don't understand what yachting involves, the people that are involved in it, and what financial and also welfare benefits that it can bring. As I said, I work for the Whangarei Marina, and the Whangarei Marina is in a marine group. So all the businesses in town that work with in the marine industry, we're all in the same group together, and that then we join together with the other local town to become a regional marine group, and then from there we've developed into being part of the South Pacific Sailing Network. So I represent a lot of people when I'm standing here. Now I'm going to let you know who the SPSN is, what our purpose is, who these people are on the boats, how our own individual islands can benefit from these visits, and what assistance you can have, some examples of how you can make the most of the boats that are anchored out in your bay, what COVID-19, how that's affected us, of course. And I've been asked to talk about what yachts want to do when they come to your place. What are they interested in doing? Also, I'll tell you about each nation a little bit briefly, what's happening with yachting in that area, and what work the SPSN, the South Pacific Sailing Network, has been doing. A sideline is the sustainable sailing, which every industry is keen on working on in the moment, and it's vital for us that if we're bringing in yachts to our region, that it works in a well-balanced manner. And then some of the things that we'd like to work together with SPTO on to strengthen the marine tourist industry. I'd also just like to apologise for the little beauty spot that seems to be a defect in my camera that is on my picture there. Who are we? We initially were a group of individuals who seem to be meeting up through the Pacific regularly. We were doing promotional little events, going to talk to yachts about why they should sail to our area, and then we decided it would be a lot better, would have a lot more strength if we joined together and organised larger events further afield. And this started in 2017. It was actually the initiative of a lady in Tahiti, Stephanie Betts. She has a company, Archipelagos, who started to gather us together and put some formality to it. We had some founding members, which included New Zealand members, Tahiti, Tonga, and Fiji in general. And then our fingers have spread a little bit wider, and we're getting more members, which helps build the enthusiasm and the network that we're building. We're called the SPSN, so it's pretty close to the SPTO. We just swapped out the tourism for sailing, but it is sailing tourism. We're just being a bit more specific, but we do have a very similar role. We don't have anyone full-time employed running the show, which is one of our ambitions. We all have our own businesses. Some of us have marinas or boat yards. We have more marine tourism people. We have the Pacific Puddle Jump, which is it's a rally which organises people to cross into the Pacific from Mexico and Panama. Sail Tahiti is a boat broker who's very active, and he's out there sailing as well. Yeah, so we have a wide range of people, and we're keen to get more, basically. The one thing is that we are individuals in each of those organisations that are very passionate about supporting yachting within the area. The more boats that we get into the Pacific, the better it will be for all of us. So it tends to be the further away we are promoting the South Pacific, the more generalised we are. So, for example, I have been to, just before lockdown, I was with the SPSN in Mexico and Panama, and we were putting on presentations for the boats that were just about to depart to head our way. And there I was selling the South Pacific. And then I've been in, as you go further west, I've been in French Polynesia, and there I was selling New Zealand. I've been in Tonga. I regularly put on a week-long event there. And there I was selling my town. And once the boats arrive in my town, then I'm selling my business. So that's sort of how it works for all the members. The further away you are, the more of a joint representation you're doing. And that works well. And if you want to see your local contact in your nation, have a look on our website. I'll show you at the end. And then if you'd like to talk to them more about what specifically they're doing and if they would need some assistance. when we started up, we actually had a bit of difficulty deciding on what our missions were, because we wanted to accomplish a lot with very little resources and time. But we narrowed it down into, we do want to encourage more yachts to sail into the South Pacific. And then once they're here, to increase the duration and the quality of their stopovers. By the quality of their stopovers getting raised, it means that they want to stay longer. And that really has been happening. We do feel we've been quite successful with that. 10 years ago, most of the yachts would be traveling through the Pacific. They were doing a around the world trip. Now we're getting vast numbers that they keep circulating, but it becomes often a 3-year trip through the Pacific. So they go between the islands, between the seasons, and it's like visiting anywhere. As soon as you see a little bit, you get a taste of something, you realize there's a lot more that you still want to go back and see. And with sailing, it takes time to go between the places. Our other mission is to coordinate private and public authorities, and so that we get a sustainable and profitable development of sailing in the region. So there's two key things: profitable development, because we do all need to get something out of it. We all work for businesses, but we also want to keep it sustainable. If we're going to bring a lot of boats into the Pacific, we need to do it well. Who are these people that are on the boats? They're not drug smugglers or people smugglers. I've met thousands over the years. I've been working in this position for 17 years now. At least I don't think I've met any of them. They tend to be the kind of typical person who's on a boat is like the ones in the centre there, a retired couple, early retired, sold their home or renting out their home, and are off to do their big adventure in the world. Some of them don't have super great sailing skills when they depart. They learn along the way. But something they do, most of them do have are really good skills in other things. And that's something that we can take advantage of, especially in the outer islands, which I'll be telling you a bit more about. The boats that we're working with are not the super yachts. The super yacht industry is a bit different to ours. We class them super yachts anything over 24 metres. Super yachts have paid crew on board, and they do have a very high spend. So we're looking at the smaller boat market. So you've also got families that are out there. They're what we call regular people who are just have taken a big step, and they're out there doing something very adventurous. With good internet connectivity now, we're finding a lot of younger people that are actually still working while they're out traveling, which is great to see. It also means that they can stay longer because they can finance their sailing as they're going. The majority are either North Americans or Europeans. Sometimes we get a burst of, we had quite a few Brazilian boats coming through for a while, and we get the occasional Japanese boat. They tend to be a solo sailor that comes down, but the vast majority are Europeans, as in Germans, Dutch, Italians, British, and then North Americans from either coast. Of course, we get a lot of Californians because they don't have to go through the Panama Canal. They can head straight over. And heading straight over leads on to where the boats actually come from and what's the route. There are some adventurous yachts, of course, who take their own route. We get some that leave from New Zealand straight over to Chile. That's a long passage. But the vast majority, it's called the milk run, where you follow the wind and the currents from North America. So if you're from the east coast of North America, you need to come down and cross through the Panama Canal. And that's quite advantageous for us because we can gather crowds of yachties there before and after they go through the canal. So we do events there each year, which are very popular, where we tell them all about how fantastic it is in our islands, and some advice on how to sail there, how to deal with authorities, and entice them with beautiful pictures of how enjoyable it's going to be and how they should spend more time in the islands. Just yesterday I had a couple, they're actually Australians, but they bought their boat in Europe and sailed through here, and they said they actually hadn't intended coming through to sailing all the way through here. They were going to go to the Caribbean and then sail back to Europe. They came to one of the talks that we had there, and they met me. I can't remember them, but they said they listened to how fantastic the sailing in the South Pacific was, and they looked at each other and they decided, no, let's do it. It's quite amazing how that a personal approach can actually change people's planning, because it is a very emotional decision. What you're going to do, you've decided you've got this time and you've got your boat to do it with, but where you're actually going to go, it's quite easily to influence the people on where they want to sail to. It's an easy sell, and it's an enjoyable job doing so. So once they've left the Panama, they head down often through the Galapagos Islands, and then it's a big jump over to, which is called the puddle jump, if you join that rally, over to French Polynesia, where there is a huge island group that a lot of time can be spent and does get spent there before then heading through the Cook Islands. They don't often stop at the Cook Islands. The next stop is either Tonga or straight to Fiji if they're in more of a hurry. And then us New Zealanders go up to Tonga and Fiji and try to tell them to come down to New Zealand, where we tend to keep them for about 6 months. This is seasonal because we have an insurance industry who doesn't like the boats to be in this area during the they call it the cyclone season, or the warmer period of the year. It is something that's changing. There are boats that do decide to stay in the area over the warmer season now because the facilities are getting better. For example, Vunda Marina in Fiji, they have pits where they dig big holes in the ground and place the boats in and secure them well in case a cyclone weather is coming through. And in Tonga, they've got a fantastic little boatyard there now that's very sheltered and can protect boats in the really bad storms as well. But the majority they decide to either come down to New Zealand or across to Australia. We like two reasons we like them to come down to New Zealand: because we're selfish and we have businesses here, but also we feel that it tends to keep the boats in the Pacific longer, because then they get on the route, the circle of after New Zealand, it's either back to French Polynesia if they tend to be the more adventurous and the faster, bigger boats, or they'll go up to Tonga and Fiji multiple times. Particularly Fiji, we have boats here now that have been 4 years who initially intended to visit New Zealand once and then sail on, and they keep going up to Fiji and back to New Zealand, and they discovered just new areas all the time, and that also their skills in diving and snorkeling and improve every time. Now, the blue water economy, that's if government officials like to discuss the economics behind attracting yachts into the area. And in 2018, Fiji did a really good survey over 721 visiting yachts. I think it might have been about 40-something boats that they did actually direct contact, but they did get a lot of information out of the boats. So out of 721, 54 were super yachts. As you can see, super yachts do spend a lot when they're in town. But there's also a huge market with the yachts that are under 24 meters. When I say under 24, some of them are more than that now because we get an awful lot of catamarans. So if you count each hull, the boats are quite big. Boats are getting bigger every year too. People get quite astounded. They're getting bigger and more comfortable. So in the survey, 193 crew, and I was quite astounded by this, plus 2,500 guests flew in. Then I thought about it. Yes, so I see like a boat from New Zealand will go up. Often it's the owner and some of his friends who might sail it up, and then all their families fly in as well. So that's a huge added income that comes to the destination. The total economic contribution that year in Fiji dollars, over 60 million from yachting. And most interesting, I felt, was it really shows that the yachting industry is the tourism dollar. It's much larger because the people stay longer. So over 7,500 Fiji dollar per person. And remember, this is all foreign exchange. It's not bookings that are done offshore. So if you compare that to the average tourist who flies in, is about 2,500. And the biggest advantage I think we can all see is that it's a widespread economic impact. It's not just in the central areas. They do spend most of their money in the central areas, in the larger towns where there are more services available. But they do also spread an economic impact right out to very remote islands that don't normally benefit from tourism. There's no cruise ships going to those small places, but there are individual sailing yachts. And the more that these yachts know that they can get, that there's good anchorages, that they're welcome, the more they will visit. And also because we're encouraging boats to stay longer in the whole South Pacific, then the first year they tend to go to the central places. The second year they start to head out and venture out to the small islands. The third year they've become friends with some of the small villages, and they're bringing supplies. And it just grows, and they feel that they just want to. They just love the area. The more visits they get to go, and the more adventurous they become. Now, one of my Fiji colleagues would like me to convey an example on how you could capitalize on the market. A lot of big resorts, they're not very interested in the yachts that park out the front of them. But if you are a smaller outer island boutique, you may have 10 to 20 rooms. If you have 10 yachts anchored out front, they could easily double your bar takings and your restaurant for the evening. And the key thing is, it doesn't cost you anything to do that. You don't have to build more rooms. You don't have to have more staff to clean their rooms. They're sitting out there. Yachties love to go in for an evening and have a cocktail and treat themselves to a nice dinner. And they just need to know if they are welcome into your resort or not. So it needs to be made clear. You have to decide as a resort, do you want these people to come and add to your income, or do you not have the capacity? So you need to go through a little process. You need to decide your ground rules. depending on what your situation is. You may decide that you only have a small pool, you don't want extra people using it, so you say, sorry, no pool use. You may limit the area that they walk around when they come ashore, so they're not disturbing your other guests. And it's also a good idea to make a dinghy dock arrival area, so that the people come to a safe area. They're not dragging their dinghies over coral, and also they're not leaving their dinghies sort of randomly looking untidy on your beach. Do you have extra services that you can offer at a fee? Some of the critical things that the yachts would really appreciate is water. Most of them now do have their own water desalination on board. Sometimes or often that's not actually working, or some of the smaller boats don't. So if they're able to get some canisters of fresh water, sometimes it's beneficial. Do you have extra fuel you're able to sell? More so for their outboards. Can you accept rubbish? Do you have rubbish disposal facilities? Can you accept, again at a fee, their rubbish? So if you've decided you want to be one of these yacht-friendly resorts, then you need to let the yachts know. Adam, who's the marina manager at Vunda Marina, he's quite keen to push this. And so if you do think you want to go down that line, give them a call, send them your information, and either a flyer could be created for your venue, or perhaps a list of venues that people can sail to could be distributed. Even maybe when the yachts arrive, or at the various marinas that could be available. When they do come and anchor outside, welcome them ashore to use the bar and restaurant, but also think about what extra services you could have to sell them, like dive lessons. You may have a dance show once a week. Invite them along to that too. Make the most of the boats that are anchored out there. Some resorts have felt that they don't want boats anchored right out in front. If you're polite about it, you can ask them to anchor in a certain area, or even you can politely ask them to only stay 3 nights. It's very difficult to directly govern it, but communication is always the key. Now, the same principle can be applied to a village. No, you can't be selling them drinks and flash meals, but you can be selling them an experience. Perhaps you can have an activity day 1 or 2 days a week, where you at a small fee, you teach them your local handcraft, your fishing skills, how to play the ukulele, or how to do local dance, cook together. These are experiences that are really, really valuable for the people that have sailed so far and are really curious about you. What else do they like to do when they come ashore? They don't tend to want to lie on the beach and sunbathe. They can do that on their own boats. They want to have cultural and immersive experiences, meet the people that they're with, learn about them, socializing with the families and children, playing football with the children on the beach, visiting their homes, going along to village events, like, for example, being invited to come along and watch the local rugby game. That can be a highlight of a world trip for some people. Just feeling a little bit involved and getting to know the local people. It could be not only buying local handcrafts, but being shown how they're made. That always greatly improves the appreciation of handcrafts. Take them for a guided nature walk, teach them what plants you have, how you use the plants around you. Perhaps take them, if you're lucky enough to have some good snorkeling area, teach them about the local fish. And yeah, that's what people want to do. They want to go ashore and they want to feel also that they can help in some ways. That may be in financially paying for services or offering some of their skills that they have. So some of the skills that they have, these really come to fore if there's a disaster. A huge skill, of course, is that they are able to go to very isolated areas. They can also help with trade and purchase of produce and essentials. It doesn't have to be money that's exchanging hands. It can be fresh fruit in exchange for excess flour and rice that you have on board. It can be also repairing generators or outboards. This happens a lot. Sometimes there's equipment that has been given to a village, but the service doesn't come until a boat comes to visit and gives them assistance. Medically, there's a lot of assistance that comes out of the yachts. There are organisations who gather up eyeglasses, and distribute through the Pacific. That's hugely rewarding for those who do, who are able to give a set of glasses to someone who can continue doing flax weaving and being part of the community. We had a boat in here a few years ago. He had an actual full dentist chair on board, so he would find remote areas and take it at no charge at all. People on board extracting teeth and doing repair of work. Medically, of course, we have a lot of medical professionals who are on board boats who can be of great service. But emergency deliveries and assistance is huge when there is, for example, a cyclone that comes through. Sea Mercy is an organisation that's grown through the years. When there is an emergency situation, it's critical that the right kind of help gets out there. So you need someone to organise it, how to gather what's needed and how to distribute it well. So Sea Mercy has been doing fantastic work the past years. They also they support other organisations who are doing good work. COVID-19, yes, it has affected the yachting world. We have boats that are stuck in places that can't go anywhere, that people have had to leave. We have others who have been more adventurous and continued on and sailed through, not being able to stop at many places, but have managed to carry on sailing. But it's a small minority. Sailing as a tourist is a safe way to go. You're not coming through busy airports. You're on board in your own isolated vessel. It is a safe way to accept tourists. So it's a shame that we couldn't carry it on more than we did in the past 2 years. However, Fiji is very admirable in the way that they set up a blue lanes process. Vijaya General Marina was one of the driving forces behind this. It was all very logical, and we wish that New Zealand had done the same, and that it was just a matter of getting the government officials to understand that there is a simple process and they can isolate on board. So we really commended Fiji's Blue Lanes process. They have always been open to yachts. Whereas a lot of us other nations, we just closed down completely to all tourism. Though from New Zealand's point of view, we did keep all their people that were willing to stay on board. So those who stayed, we just extended their visas, no problem. I think that was a good decision, because since we didn't let any other tourists fly in, at least we should keep the ones that we had. And they have been out travelling through New Zealand and benefiting our tourism industry, even if it's a small group of people. However, we have, I think both French Polynesia and New Zealand have an issue at the moment. We have a lot of boats with us that are just clogging up the system. because the owners aren't here and they can't get back. However, French Polynesia is now open. And New Zealand has just declared that end of April we will be open to all travellers. That's a long way off yet for us. But sailing wise, that should be happening a little bit sooner. So the nations that are with our SPSN group thus far are the Galapagos is our newest member. We have an agent there who has been pushing hard to get more boats to come in. Galapagos has been open the whole time. I'm not sure about the flights, how restricted that was, but they have been encouraging yachts to come in. French Polynesia has been sometimes officially closed, but still letting in boats when it was really critical. They've had a lot of COVID came just when a lot of boats were all just leaving Panama, Mexico area, and were at sea, and so they arrived into lockdown. It was all a lot of confusion, like the rest of the world. A lot of those boats are still there. Some of them people have flown home and left them even at anchor. Others have come back and been moving around within French Polynesia as situations developed. Tonga has been closed the whole time. Tonga says that they will look at opening up when New Zealand will open up, so that won't be till early next year. New Zealand, as I said, we've been very closed. I've been trying not to be frustrated myself. I've been sailing, doing local races instead of getting out in the world sailing. So I'm feeling frustrated at times, but still thankful that we've had it pretty good here. Fiji has been open the whole time, not to tourism by flight, but to boats. And we have, so a regular of ours is coming back next week from Fiji. She's a great photographer, so she's been really teasing us the whole time, these beautiful dive pictures she's been sending. But that was we only had one boat here who decided to actually chance it and go to Fiji. There's no regrets on their behalf, but most of the yachts that were here decided to stay because of the uncertainty. New Caledonia has been closed and is still closed. So that's the main sailing areas that we have covered. However, there's a lot more smaller islands out there who we know would benefit a lot by getting more visitors, and we'd like to encourage them to join our group to help them and to help the Greater Pacific area, encourage more sailing out of the central areas, but discovering more places. And that's the likes of Samoa, Vanuatu, Papua New Guinea's not on the list, but of course we'd like to expand out that way as well. This is what we've been doing so far. The past 2 years, our group has sort of went into sort of shutdown mode along with the rest of the world, and we're just trying to deal with the regulations, or trying to keep people up to date on what was happening within the regions. However, prior to COVID, we were having a great time. We were organising and involved in a lot of events. We'd created an event calendar, and this is events that happen as the greater population of boats travelling through the Pacific would come to, because we wanted to give motivation to head to the next port to discover a new area. Some of these events have been happening for many years. We've just coordinated them together. Others we've helped create. A central one is the Tahiti Moria Sailing Rendezvous in Tahiti. This is again greatly organised by Stephanie Betts in French Polynesia. This welcomes the puddle jump, which is a rally which crosses into the Pacific. It's about a 3-week journey, so it's a big task to take on for those who sail across, and it's celebrated when they arrive. And this is a really fun event, and we hope it will be up and running again next year. In Tonga, a week-long event, Musket Cove, has a famous regatta in Fiji. And something that we're wanting to do next year is to have a B2B forum in Tahiti, planning the reboot of sailing in the Pacific. This is going to be sponsored by the Pacific Fund. The Pacific Fund has helped the organisation all the way through. They've helped us organise events in Panama as well. So we're wanting to gather key players in the industry, not just the members, but others as well, and to sort of motivate each other and discuss how we can reboot the sailing that's happening, because we know it's going to grow. We need to be prepared for it, and we want to make the most of it. As you can see in the pictures here, these are some of the group seminars that we run at the different areas. So we'll put on an event, have some fun races, but it's all so that we can gather the groups to talk to as many people as possible. We may talk to 10% of the yachts that are passing through at a time, but for every person that we reach in this manner, they'll be spreading information to 3 or 4 friends as well. So they really are very useful, these seminars. And also, one of the things we're now working on in the seminars is we're not only selling them the areas and come and spend your money, come and enjoy the area, but also come and be responsible. Some of the boats, they know what they should be doing. Some of the boats people have purchased, and they're busy trying to work out how the boats work and how they should be sailing, what the route is, how to read weather forecasts. So they might not have done as much homework about the destination they're going to. We want the people to respect the local culture that they're coming to learn up about it, to know how to behave. We want them to respect the environment they're coming to, think about where they're anchoring. Are they doing damage to the area? And we want them to think about financially how they should be behaving as well. So this is just a little flyer that we produced, but it is just to get people thinking about where they're going to and what impact they can have. And then each of the major areas, they have their own requirements. This is something we need to work more on, and we want to find ways of getting the information out better. We distribute the little flyer. We have information online. There is lots of other good online information. The step one is getting people just to think about how they should be thinking. But it would be really good if we could get local areas to have small seminars teaching the boats in the particular areas, particularly when they're just arriving, how they should be behaving. Now, we've got lots of work we would love to get done. We know there's a lot of potential out there. It's just about how much we can put into it. There's a huge opportunity by doing more promotional work into Europe and the US, and perhaps even Asia. There is a developing yachting market. We have someone who's interested in doing a rally to get boats out of there. Boat shows are a great way of doing it. At a boat show, people are wandering around looking for inspiration. So we'd like to work in that area more. That's something we probably would need help from SPTO. So we're selling the Pacific. We wouldn't only be selling boating, come sailing in the Pacific, but at a boat show, it's a good market of people with the finances to be able to travel through the Pacific as well. So it can be a good opportunity for both. We'd also like to attend events in the Caribbean. The Caribbean is the next closest market. It's just on the other side of Panama, and there are thousands of boats there that just need a little bit of inspiration to come through through the Panama Canal, and to know that there is assistance in doing so, such as the puddle jump event, which guides people through. We want to position the South Pacific region as a sailing destination equal to the Caribbean and the Mediterranean. We have the beautiful waters, we have great cultural experiences to be had. It's a bit more spread out, so you'll get more private anchorages. We need to be purchasing advertising and creating editorial articles, capitalizing on international events. For example, the America's Cup, which unfortunately due to COVID was a bit of an anticlimax that we were all building up for, but it could happen again. By working together, we can make more of these opportunities. We also need to work hard on developing working relationships with government tourism officials, such as what we've done now with the SPTO memorandum. We need to convince our governments to support the sector and develop better infrastructure. And a good example of that is having a really good, a decent clearance arrival dock for yachts. When you come to a new country, the first impression, it's huge. If you can tie alongside something stable, and the authorities who go into clearance where it can just step aboard, it gives a huge impression. It makes it a lot more welcoming and a lot easier for people. But with customs, immigration, biosecurity, also we'd like to see it more streamlined throughout the Pacific, so that similar regulations, so it's not difficult moving from island to island, so that if also it helps, particularly customs, if they are working cooperatively between the islands. And we'd like to further assist aid organisations like Sea Mercy, encouraging more community involvement from the yachts. People on board the yachts, they have so much skills, and they want to participate. They're looking for a purpose in life sometimes, not just sailing to a beach and laying on the beach, but they want to do something with their life, and they see these opportunities, and we want to encourage how that can be organised better. Also, we need better services to the boats outside of the key areas, such as small haul-out yards, arrival assistance. Also, creates more jobs, local jobs, within the service industry. I know in our town we have a lot of people that work within the industry, and NZ Marine, which is our marine industry here, they have apprenticeship systems and do a lot of trade training, and they are actually really keen to get offered the service in the Pacific as well, to get doing exchange programs, bringing some people to New Zealand, teaching them trades, and also supporting apprenticeship systems in the Pacific. So we'd really like to see that get linked up. And also even tourism staff. Let's swap some, like my position, a marina staff attendee to do a 1-month trade between the islands, teaching each other and giving us cross-cultural understanding. Would all boost the whole marine industry. We know we've got a huge potential target out there. As I said, like there's over 5,000 boats even in the West Indies alone. Thousands up California, Mexico. It's just a matter of them enticing them through here. Prior to COVID, it was about a 10% growth each year. Also, we're getting more people wanting to go on these adventures because it is getting easier with technology. The boats are getting bigger and more comfortable, and easier to navigate. You don't have to be highly skilled navigator to find an island now. You just need to watch your screen. In New Zealand, and we think throughout the Pacific. Through COVID, lots of people have been buying boats. They can't fly around, so they're out sailing around. And we know there's a lot of people who, in the cities around the world, are looking to escape. They're wanting to head out into the clean environment, bring their skills and their foreign currency to you. How can your business and community take advantage of this blue water tourist resource? How can we best work together to make it grow sustainably? These are the questions we need to be discussing going forward. We want to encourage yacht tourists to keep circling in our area, stay longer, visit many island nations, share the blue water economy. To do this, on our side, we feel that we need a dedicated professional coordinator. I have a day job, so I'm not able to do it, but we would love to be able to fund this in the years going forward. And so if you have suggestions of people you may know who would be appropriate, come forward. So to be able to do this, to be able to work seriously and what we're wanting to do, we need to seek and wisely use funds to reach our objectives. We're a group of people that are passionate about the industry. We know there's a lot of potential and would like to be seen to be doing it professionally, and not damaging the environments that these yachts are coming into either. So yeah, we want to do a lot. We need professional help to do so. So if you want to find a bit more about our organisation, have a look on the website, south-pacific-sailing.com. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Sharron. I think this will be taking this chance for any questions from the participants. If you do have any questions, please unmute. I know that a lot of you have plenty of questions to ask, so please do unmute your microphone and ask, and hopefully Sharron can answer your questions. So the floor is open to anyone with questions. Thank you. Sharron, I'd like to I'll start off with the questions. You mentioned more participation in boat shows in the upcoming years to better promote the yachting and sailing in the Pacific. Is the SPSN looking at some boat shows in the year 2022 or 2023?
We haven't looked yet at 2022. It could be possible. Again, it depends on funding and timing of the members who would be able to do it. To be honest, the past year, everything's gone so quiet that we're just starting to get the ball rolling. But it would be a very good opportunity to work in. There are key ones in Florida in particular, and there's some big ones in Europe as well. It does cost a bit to pay for the stand, and of course it costs time and for the people who are involved. What does SPTO do tourism shows in certain areas?
Sorry, can I just jump in here? We as Lisenong Island Resort, together with the PNG Divers Association, attend BOAT, which is spelled B-O-O-T, in Düsseldorf in Germany every year. Have been doing it for the last, I don't know, probably 15 or so years. It's the biggest water sports show in the world. they lift literally the roof of the exhibition center to bring in boats. What I would like maybe to suggest is if you guys SPSN become even just an associate member of, actually, I think you might have to be a full member, but it's not really expensive. It's like probably about 500 Kiwi dollars a year to be a member of the PNGDA Divers Association. You could be a part of the PNG Divers Association booth, which gives you, well, you will need to also pay for an exhibitor pass, but you don't need to have your own booth for starters. It'll give you an idea to, you know, you could then go as an exhibitor, forget about the diving section. You're more interested in the sailing side of things. You can then go and walk around that show and look at the boats and look at the sailing side of things. I can send you a little bit more information about that.
Yes,
Sharron.
yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you.
But I think that might be an idea to kind of start this whole, you know, market in the European, do some marketing in the European market.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it is expensive, obviously, to fly to Europe, but maybe you have somebody there already that is a friend or whatever that could go on your behalf. But you could possibly, I would need to go and double check whether the PNG Divers Association would be okay with this. But again, as long as you are a fully paid member, then they can't really tell you where to go or what to do or what not to do. So does that make sense? But that is it's, as I said, they literally, and I don't mean that, you know, they literally lift the roof to bring 100-foot yachts into.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of.
Our New Zealand Marine Industry Association does attend some of the European shows as well. So we could tag along with them initially.
Okay.
But we don't want to make
but
it
just
New Zealand focused either. Yeah.
No, but I mean, you know, if you can go there and market your organization as the initial, you know, if somebody wants to come from Europe to come to the South Pacific, and then you've got your business cards out there as the initial contact to help them. You don't need to necessarily have a booth, is what I'm saying. You can just walk around and hand out your business cards.
Talking about business cards, Sharron, would you like to share with information in chat now on how to contact the SPSN if anyone wants to reach out to you or to the SPSN? You can just provide the contact information in chat for the participants so they can keep in touch. David Jameson has a question. Please do go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone, and David from Yacht Help based in Port Denarau and one of the marinas in Fiji. Hey Sharron, great presentation. Thank you very much for that. It was really good. Just following on from the comments, you know, for us in the super yacht industry, we've managed to get our Tourism Fiji and Tourism Tahiti together to afford us a stand at the Monaco show. That principle, and I completely agree with the comments that, you know, we're not marketing a destination, we need to market the South Pacific, and coming together finding forums, getting our tourism bodies financially involved in this endeavor is definitely the way forward. And yeah, and I think, that, nobody comes to one destination. All the South Pacific should be marketed as one. And if we can try and generate more initiatives to cover more of the shows, and not just for super yachts, obviously for the cruising yachts, it would be a great initiative.
Thanks.
Yeah, then the question could be that does SPTO targets any major nautical events in Europe or in the US, such as the Monaco Boat Show for super yacht, or the Boot Mess in Düsseldorf, or the one in London? There are plenty of boat shows, but that will be interesting for us people in the industry to see if SPTO could help us to have a South Pacific booth rather than just a destination booth.
Thank you. Definitely something that the SPTO and SPSN will be looking to develop further. But yeah, that's a great suggestion. We've also got Angela Benefaga who wants to ask a question. Please do go ahead.
Hi, sorry, I've got someone cutting the grass outside, but a quick question. I work in Papua New Guinea region, and more specifically with super yachts. However, we've seen a lot more of these small yachts come through, and I noticed that you haven't, you were saying earlier, Sharron, that, PNG is not part of your network. However, you'd be keen to get them involved. Is there, I know that in the past we have big security concerns, not going to deny that, but is there any way that we can be more involved, or that anything we can do? Because there's a few of us on here from PNG sitting listening curiously, so I encourage your input.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the reasons we did this seminar, was to try to make some more contacts such as yourself. So I will get in touch with you, and we can discuss it from there, what we can do.
Thank you.
Yeah, please do share your contact details in chat for the participants to reach you on. We've got a question from Eunice Osborne.
Hi, SPTO and Sharron, thanks for the great webinar. I'm actually here on Tavuni, and really part of the Tavuni business group that we've currently set up. And one thing that we've been discussing is actually setting up moorings and stuff, so that marina, when yachties come in, they could use the moorings, because I know around the island we don't have that really set up as yet. And I know there's so much progress that's been in the sailing arena, but we would like to be involved in this. And if we could have some dialogue as to help and all of those sort of things that we could get in order to assist us, that would be really great, coming from SPTO or the from SPSN. That really is what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Eunice. Quickly.
Thank you, Eunice. Definitely something we can do. Sharron has a. Okay, I'll reshare. I'll reshare the Sharron has posted her contact details. In chat. I think we have time for 2 more questions. So we'll go to Petero from Tourism Kiribati.
Thank you very much, SPTO, and thank you very much, Sharron, for the insightful presentations. And greetings everyone from the Republic of Kiribati. Not quite the South Pacific, but still around within the realms of the Greater Pacific region. For us, thank you, Sharron. The map that you've shared was quite insightful for us, because we realized that Kiribati is quite strategically located as being one of the first countries that can receive yachties coming down from Japan, Hawaii, and also the west coast of the US. And your presentation has given us a bit more insight in what the possibilities are. Our islands, for those of you who probably don't know, are atoll islands, and they all have safe harbor or lagoons. And the color of our water is as you see there on the screen. But that's not my point of my question this morning. My question is really on two. One is if you could just enlighten us a bit on membership requirements for NGOs, and as well. And the second is if you do have information in terms of yacht clearances. Our islands are quite spread out. She will fly from one part of the country to the other. It's like flying from Los Angeles to New York. But within that space, we've only got 2 clearance ports. And I'm wondering if across the Pacific, how do they manage their yacht clearance? Is it centralized only in the main centers, or do they allow for clearance in their outer islands as well? Thank you.
In that question, most areas you have to go past some of the outer islands into the central area to clear in. COVID situation at the moment is different, of course. Like in New Zealand at the moment, we only have 1 clearance port in the whole country, whereas normally we would have 10. But it varies from country to country. If you can anchor in one area and then radio in to say that you've arrived, and then continue on, or if you have to keep sailing. So it does vary within the countries, but usually in each island you may have 2 or 3, in each island nation you may have 2 or 3 clearance ports. And in regards to membership, there are different levels. For example, New Zealand pays double fee than a smaller nation. So we just discussed that, and because we don't want to penalise the small nations, because part of our motivation and reasoning is to include the smaller nations to support you. So if you want to send me an email directly, I can tell you the pricing levels and the different. We have also membership for either for a nation representative or if you are a business wanting to market yourself through us. So yeah, happy to discuss that further with you too.
Thank you very much, Sharron.
Pedro. Is there any more questions? I think Andy had a question.
To Angie me? Because
No,
there's
Andy,
2 Angie. Oh, Andy, sorry.
Andy, yeah, had raised his hand up.
Unmute. Yes, mute. Yeah. Hi.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is Peter Crispin here from American Samoa, along with Tom Drabble. Tom runs a couple of hotels here, and I myself am the setting up the facilities for cruising yachts, and we'd like to find out more about getting information on joining up and promotion, if we can get that, please.
Fantastic, Peter. Can you email me directly as well, Peter?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, fantastic.
Yep.
You can find the email address in the chat section now, Peter.
I also have added the contact of the SPSN on the message part of this seminar, and yes, to all the destination on behalf of the SPSN member. The more destination we have in our network, the better it will be, because we really want to promote the area and all of the specificity of each destination. So when we go to Panama and meet with hundreds of sailors, it's good for us to be able to provide information about smaller islands such as Kiribati, Samoa. So yes, please get in touch with us, and we'll be pleased to forward you all information on how to become a member and what are the plans that we have for next year. I think Andy wanted to talk.
Right.
Andy?
Sorry, yeah, sorry. All I wanted to say was thank you for organizing this. and initiating this, because I think it was probably long overdue for all of us to get together and talk and be able to network. So thank you for setting this up.
Thank you very much, Angie, for those words. If anyone else has any more questions, and if not, we can round it up. Mr. Turpin.
Yeah. No, he's in a very isolated area, I think.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, great. I think that's we've gone way
Yeah.
of our time that we had for this webinar, but great discussion. That was a great presentation, Sharron. Very informative. Like Angie said, it's long overdue having this webinar organized and having everyone in the industry get together and to network and share this information. Thank you very much, Sharron and Stephanie, and to those of the South Pacific Sailing Network who are present. Thank you for a great presentation, and thank you for everyone who attended, to all participants from the region and from the industry in the region. Thank you very much for participating. This session has been recorded and will be shared next week in our social channels and also in our Pulse newsletter. So if you want to go through it again, it will be shared in our newsletter next week. Thank you very much, and you all have a great day.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers.